Okay, so Jen, help with my niche. Okay, there's going to be a limited amount we can do in such a short time, but why don't you tell us what you've got so far, Jen?
Yes, so I've been doing your exercises, and why don't I just say the statement that I came up with?
Great.
And so you know how empaths and sensitive people can struggle with giving too much of themselves and end up burning themselves out. Well, I help them figure out strategies that allow them to make decisions that feel aligned for them so that they can live their life in a sustainable way.
Can you read that first part again?
You know how empaths and sensitive people can struggle with giving too much of themselves and end up burning themselves out.
Okay, that's that is at least what I would call a good big circle. It's a good general sense. It's a very clear direction in that way. I think there's probably some subsets of it that may help. Part of the challenge is this whole idea of sensitive people and empaths. I question sometimes how much people actually identify with that or see themselves as that all the time. Um, so there's that. And then there's the giving too much of themselves. Now, what would be three of the most common ways that this would happen? Like in what situations or scenarios would they give too much?
Well, one would be, sacrificing their own needs, so their own self-care, their own self-nourishment time for other people.
Yeah.
The other would be saying yes when they want to say no to things, right? They do it out of obligation or to not have to, um, feel disappointment or, resentment if they say no to somebody. And the third, I can't think of a third off the top of my head.
This is the kind of thing. So you've been doing the puttering prep exercises, I guess.
I've been going through your playlist
Okay.
on YouTube.
Okay.
The
So this
exercises
would be
there.
the next step that I would suggest is you go through. I'm just gonna close the door here. Is to go through the puttering prep exercises, and one of them is this one, and I'll just commend it to everybody as an exercise. So first of all, you make a list. In your case, I would say all the places that people have a difficult time saying no, all the places that they're over giving, all the like scenarios like staying too late at work, driving their kids everywhere, making everyone meals. I don't know what it would be, but I would really make a list of all the specific scenarios, personally, professionally, in relationships, etc. Yeah. Everything you can think of, every time you can remember ever having done it yourself, everything you can remember hearing from clients, and then you chart it out. And so you've got an up down axis, and this is the how passionate you are, and then this axis is how competent you are in helping them with that. And you just start to put them, 1 through 10 here, 1 through 10 here. So there'll be certain ones like, oh, I love helping people with this, but I'm not very good at that one. Or I'm really good at helping people with that, but oh, I just hate doing it. That's not what lights me up. And what we're looking for is things in this quadrant. You're passionate about it, and you feel really good about it, really good, yeah, at it. You feel skillful at it. That's the goal. And you may find they all go in one corner, and this exercise didn't help at all. But sometimes it does. Sometimes you can, in going through, you start to realize, oh, there's a cluster of these kind of specific moments, and real life situations that I actually really enjoy most helping people with. Like maybe it's like, because with the overgiving, this could happen romantically or sexually. It could happen saying no to your boss. It could be saying no to friends who are always roping you into some damn volunteer activity. It could be your kids. It could be people tend to have maybe a weak point. That's the place they break most. And you may realize, there may be somebody who's like, oh my God, I got so bullied by my boss at work. Oh my, I love the thought of helping people who got, who can't say no to their boss, or yeah, their kids run all over them, or their spouse, or whatever it is. So you may find there's a certain sub niche of that, and that can help because if you Google overgiving, it's like, oh man, there's lots. I struggle with overgiving. There's going to be millions of articles. So the more we can sort of hone and clarify. And then the other thing is you can start to hone not just the situation, but the type of person. And that can help a lot. So for example, are they liberal or are they conservative? Are they New Age or are they Christian? Are they, there's so many different things. So this question of like, okay, your ideal clients, what else would they be into? What authors, what scenes would they be a part of? To really hone that in, because then you get this double layer. You can say, I really like helping people with this kind of situation around overgiving who are this kind of person. And all of a sudden now we have something that has some legs that will also allow you to find hubs for those specific groups, craft offers for that specific group. That's not just, hey, do you notice that you burn out because you overgive too much, which is a lot of us, and mostly women, and a lot of women, so it's like, oh man, this is just suddenly that's a lot of women. Well, that's like half the population of the world. So this is suddenly, huge. Um, and does that help? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I think part of my struggle too is, that was one of the statements I wrote down, but it was trying to, there's a lot of ways that I help people. And so trying to put it into one statement is really challenging.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So it's, not just people who only give too much, it's stress and anxiety, it's perfectionism, it's so much, right? There's so much that plays into it. So, and maybe I just need to play around with it and a little bit more, because there really is a lot to it. And I find there's actually a
what's
whole,
it? There's a lot to what?
there's a lot to burnout. It's not just overgiving. There's a whole, what I call a burnout cycle, and all of these little parts that all play into it. And it's really hard to put all of that into a small statement. So that's kind of, I guess, more what I'm struggling with than, and then getting it into those little circles. So I have been struggling getting it into the small circles.
Understandable. This is not easy. So, I mean, you could also do the same exercise around burnout. You could say, yeah, like in what domains of life do people burn out? What are the different types of burnout? You can do the same sort of exercise just to see, is there a type of burnout I'm most drawn to, and maybe not. But it could also be burnout for a very specific crowd. So for example, burnout for mothers, burnout for chefs, burnout for realtors, burnout for, it can be by profession, some demographic, some psychographic, burnout in for punk rockers. I don't know, like all sorts of crowds deal with burnout. So you might pick a specific one, or you might pick a specific type of burnout, or it might just be burnout for this people who are generally into these things. That will help to do that. And then, because so with niching is what we want to be known for. You're going to get known for one thing if you're lucky. If you're lucky, you get known for one thing. So then the question just becomes, what's that one thing that we want to be known for? Now, that one thing may be a bit of a mishmash of a few things. And generally, it's the W5 plus H. It's who, what, where, when, why, and how. Yeah. And so the who, people who are burned out in this case, or, now what you do, then that's the modalities. But the how is an underrated part. So sometimes what we can be known for is our point of view about the thing. So you can say, look, a lot of people say burnout's about this, but I say it's about this. There's a great little conversation between David White and brother David Steindl Rast. It wasn't burnout exactly, he said, but he said exhaustion isn't always the result of overworking. And David White said, oh, well, what is it? He said was it something like half-heartedness. So doing a bunch of things you're half-hearted about will burn you out. That'll exhaust you. It was something like that. So that's a point of view, that to take. Other people say, no, it's all nutritional. Other people say, no, it's mostly a lack of exercise, or people would have their thing they would emphasize. So if you can, this becomes so much of the marketing is, people bring you, and let's say you get interviewed on podcasts, or you do presentations, but the thrust of the presentation is, here's my take about burnout. number one cause, overgiving, number two cause this, and you've got however many elements that you see as a kind of map. And maybe there's a sequence to that. But where you're making the case, like, it's not buy from me, you're making the case, here's, if you want to handle burnout, here's how you do it. Whether you hire me or not, I don't care. But you're making the case for your approach, for your perspective, not so much for the package, You're selling the concept, not the course, as it were. And because if they don't buy the concept, they're not going to sign up for the course.
Yeah. So my point of view is that the reason that people get in cycles of burnout is because they exist in a way that is outside of their natural way of existing. So, when you talk about people pleasing, perfectionism, giving too much, it's all doing these things that aren't aligned for them. It's not allowing themselves to exist in their natural way, whether they're working too fast or not allowing themselves to take more on or less on.
Yeah. So a couple things. One, there's the Chinese proverb that says, stress is who you think you should be. Relaxation is who you are. But there's an ebook I've got called Don't Market Yourself, Market Your Message, which may be worthwhile picking up. Because the key is then to take that, distill it into a sentence.
Okay.
And then that's a sentence you repeat just over and over again. So anyways, thank you so much. This beautiful work you're doing and needed in the world.